Today we're going to talk about the future of water in the Rogue Valley, and the process we have is that I'm going to take just a few minutes to set a general context for the water situation in general, and then I'm going to turn the floor over to Julie and Cody from Medford Water, who are going to fill in a whole lot of the details and explain some of the specifics of our situation. So first of all, many of you are, I'm sure, familiar with the water cycle, where our water comes from ultimately, which is evaporation of water from the Pacific Ocean, air movement over the land. When that air cools, the water comes out of the air, falls onto the ground as either rain or snow, and then some of it percolates into the ground to become groundwater, and a lot of it runs off to go right back into the ocean. This could be a picture of, or a very simple picture of, what the coast looks like, what our area looks like. Unfortunately, if I were to draw this same picture in the summer, there'd be almost no water coming, because this system, this conveyor belt bringing water onto land, moves up to the north in the summertime. So we actually have rain in the winter and snow in the winter, but not much in the summer. That's great if we want to do outdoor things like have a 4th of July parade, go to an outdoor production at the Shakespeare Festival, go to the Brit, go hiking. It's not so good if we want to garden, grow flowers, have a lawn, or have agriculture going on. So we have to have some way in which the water is saved over from the winter to the summer. Now, nature will do this for us in some sense. We have snowpack. If the water falls down as snow onto the mountains, it's not going to melt right away. It might stay for days. It might stay for weeks. If we're lucky, it will stay for months. And then it will be added back into the system. Also, if the water percolates down into the ground, that can stay as groundwater, which takes a longer time to eventually come out. It might come out as a spring. We know that many of our rivers, our local rivers, are spring fed, the Rogue River, the Wood River, and we know of Big Butte Springs, which is one of the areas where the water comes out from the groundwater. The disadvantage is, of course, if it stops raining, and if we get less water, less snow, then all of these inputs go down, and so we have less water over time. We also have human storage, big and little reservoirs that we use to put the water in. Again, if thanks to climate change, our precipitation balance changes so that we have lots of rain, not much snow, all that water is trapped in the reservoirs. They fill up right away, and then we have to live off whatever's there for the whole rest of the summer. Not a very good scenario, making lots of trouble for Julie and Cody. Lastly, before I turn it over to Julie, I just wanted to talk very briefly about the pattern of what use of the water, how we treat it, how we take care of it. And I found this nice diagram. You can see the source there. But we have the water supply, which could be the Rogue River, could be Ashland Creek, could be Big Butte Springs. That goes to a water treatment plant to the drinking water system. We use most of that, but a lot of it ends up in the wastewater and right back into the river again. We need to be careful that we don't take all the water out of the system and don't put it back in the river, because in some cases we need that treated wastewater to go back into the rivers. I've also added to this diagram a couple of outflows of water from agriculture through the irrigation districts. Also in our own homes and yards, we like to water our lawn, use our garden. In most cases, we're using treated drinking water for that use if we don't happen to live on an irrigation canal. And so we have that use of our water, and we also need to have a certain minimum amount of water in our system in case we have a fire in the town, because we have to use that water for the fire departments to use. And in many of these cases, like agriculture and watering our lawn, that water doesn't necessarily make it back into the stream system. And the last thing I've added to this diagram is at the end of the stream, I put fish and other, because we have to keep water into the stream for fish. And if, for example, we take all the water from the Rogue River in Medford, there's none left for Grants Pass. That would not make us very good neighbors. So we have to think of all these pieces of how we use the water when we think about the ways in which we can react to changes in the water supply that might be caused by climate change.